Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we will be looking at an interesting example. So most often when you deal with any programming languages, there is always a requirement to read a complex JSON object as you see here. Some programming languages like Python gives you a simple way to access these members so that you can use within your program. But since Golang is a strongly typed language, you need to define the structure so that you can use the structs to represent these complex JSON objects in your program and reference some of these variables inside your program. So we'll be seeing how to define a structure to define this complex structure. And also we'll write a small program to access some of these elements so that you can print it out to the console to see how this works. So it is very important to understand how this works because if you go to AWS, most of the objects that returns from this SDKs is mostly in JSON format. So once you understand these concepts, it'll be much easier when you deal with AWS SDKs accessing different services. So we'll be writing this program from scratch. So I'm going to start in my Vim here, and you can also use Visual Studio Code. And we saw how to set it up in the last video. If not, you can check it out. So here we have a books.json. So I'm going to open another program called main.go. So the first line in any Golang, Golang program is going to be a main here. And we need to be doing a certain imports, and we will worry about those imports later. But for now, I'm just going to keep a placeholder here. And then we got to define the structures that's going to represent this JSON object. So let's define a type. It's going to be a complex type. And so we're going to define a type called, since this looks like a books data structure, I'm going to define books as the name of the structure. So and the first element is title, and we're going to be using capital letter for the first letter here. So if you know a little bit of Go, if you use the first letter as capital letter, it means that the member variable is exposed to the outside world, meaning you can access these variables and manipulate it or access it, right? So in this case, we're going to be using such that you can access it outside the program as well. And then you're going to say this is of type string. And then the next one is publication. So I'm just following the JSON file right here. So the first is title and the next is publication. And then that's going to be an integer. And then the author is authors. And then if you look at here, there is it's a nested structure, right? So this is a little bit of complicated structure, which is what I want to teach you in this one. And also if you look at the second object, so this is an array of elements. So if you look at the square brackets, which means it has two different elements. The one element is here, the second element starts from here to here. And in the second element, you can see authors, there are two values here. So which means the authors in this book structure should be an array, right? So for that in Golang, you'll be using an array structure here, and then you can use author, array of authors, right? So that it's an authors and it's an array of author type, which we need to define in the next section here. And then the last one is a publisher. So I'm just going to use publisher. And then that is of type publisher. So we haven't defined that type yet, which we'll be defining as soon as we're done with this initial layout. So now what is left is to define the author and publisher, which is what we're going to do right here. So this is author, and it's going to be a struct. And then the first value in the author is the name, and name is of type string. And the next one is nationality. This is nationality, so we'll define that as well. and that is of type string. And we're pretty much done with this one. And let's go to the next one, which is the type, and that is the publisher, which is this one right here. And this is also of type struct. And then the first value is name, and then and it is a string. And then the next one is the country, and that is of type string. So there you go. That's as simple as how to represent this complex structure into Golang structs. So we're missing uh, one key piece here, right? So if you look here, we are using capital letters here, but whereas in the JSON objects, it's all using lowercase. So you need to tell the struct which you define here that how it is represented in the actual JSON file that is coming to you, whether you're reading it from a local file or whether you're reading it from another program by calling some SDKs or APIs. So the way you represent that how it's shown in the JSON file, you'll be using a backtick. If you look at the keyboard, it's below the tilde sign on your keyboard, right? So you need to put a backtick, and you have to say a JSON. It may be a little complicated here, but just hang with me here. And once you get the hang of it, it should be pretty straightforward. And then you have to tell how it is represented in the JSON file. So it's title, and then I'm going to close the backtick here. All right. So you need to do the same thing for each and every element. So I'm going to do JSON colon within quotes, and it's publication. So remember, it's a lowercase p here, and then I'm going to close it here. And then backtick JSON. It's going to be repetitive, but I think once you see me typing so many times, you'll get used to this and you'll never forget about it. And this is represented as authors. And the last one in here is it's a publisher. Right? So we're done here. I'm going to save it. It'll adjust the so everything looks good here. So let me adjust the formatting here. Okay, this looks good. So let me go to this one and do the same thing for the author struct. So backtick JSON, and it's represented as name in the actual JSON. And this is nationality. So I'm trying to see why it is not in the proper color coding. So I think we didn't use the proper backtick here. Okay, there you go. And then we have two more to go. Just bear with me. I know it is boring and repetitive. Feel free to fast forward it so that you can get to the meaty part of this presentation. And this is going to be name, backtick, and then JSON. This is going to be country. Perfect. I'm going to save the file so we don't lose anything. Okay, I think we need to miss. Okay, perfect. So let me fix the formatting here. So country, and then we need to be using name capital here. Okay, I think everything looks good. So I'm going to save the file. Okay, and okay, it's complaining here. So struct tag. Okay, let's fix this one first. I think I've somehow added a J in here, so I'm going to delete that. This is gone. And then what is it complaining about here? Oh, it's a capital letter. So now I think that error should go. Perfect. Okay. So now we're done with the structs, and now it's time to write the main program. So, so we're going to define a func main. So now we need to read this file, and this file is in the same directory as this main.go program. And I'll be using the operating system.read file API to read the JSON file. So I'll just type it up and tell you what's going on here. os.read file. Read file, and then it's telling the name. I need the name of the file, so which is going to be books.json. Okay, and always it's a good practice to look for errors. So I'm going to say error not equal to null, which means there is an error, and you need to handle the error. And I'm going to say log.fatal, and I'm just going to log the error, whatever we get back from there. Okay, and it's saying, oh, I think it messed up the thing here. So let me fix that. Okay, so now we read the file into this value called file bytes. So if you read any value from OS, it's going to be in bytes, which is not of big use to us. So in order to use the bytes into the represent the structure which we wrote above, we need to do an operation which is called unmarshalling, right? So let's define, since we have two books in here, this is one book and then this is the second book. So we need to define a variable to this hold these books. And it's an array because we have two books in this case, and it's of type book. This is the book structure. So we're saying we're going to be having a lot of books, and it's taking this struct book. And then we're going to loop through, we're going to do the unmarshal function so that we can convert this byte array to the structure. So you can see the first value in here is the byte, and then it takes the structure. So we're going to be using file bytes, and then we're going to be using we need to pass the reference of the book which we created. So it's going to be ampersand books, right? So this unmarshal may be very confusing in the very beginning, but once you get used to it, it's very simple. So all we're doing is we're converting the JSON byte array into the structure which we just created, so that we can access all the different elements using this structure. So that you have a member like books.nationality, books.author.nationality will give us this particular value, which is here. So now we need to handle the error just to make sure that we don't have any errors here. So we got to say not equal to null. We're going to say log.fatal. We're going to say just log in the error. Okay, let's cross. Okay, So the next one we need to do is, let's do some empty spaces so that this is just a dummy line. You don't have to do this. I'm just printing a dummy, new line. So now we need to loop through this object so that we can kind of access each and every value that's shown here, right? So for that, let me use a for loop, and then I'm going to do underscore. I'll tell you what that is in just a minute, and then I'm going to reference book for a variable for the looping, and we're going to be using a range operator to loop through the books. So books, remember, books is what it's kind of unmarshaled, and it is kind of holding all the values in the books, and that's what I'm kind of looping through to get all the values. Okay, so now you need to loop again for the authors. So books will loop through this book and then second book. As you remember, author is also an array, right? So you need to have another for loop so that even if there are 10 authors who wrote this book, you can get every author so that you can print it up in an easy and friendly manner. So I'm going to do another loop for author, and then you can say range of book dot authors. Okay, and I'm going to start another one. Close this, and then I'm going to close the top one here. So it's also highlighting it so you can see which braces is which one, right? So we're going to create a temporary string so that we can concatenate the users. Like for example, when you get this title "Good Omens," I'm going to concatenate and tell all the author names like Terry Pratchett, and then Neil Gaiman is the author of this book. So in order to that, I'm going to just have a temporary variable called author names, and then it's going to be an array of string. And then you can use this to concatenate array author names equal to. You can always Google and figure out some of these for functions or slices how it's working. But the way I work is I will look up online, and I will look at some examples, and then as and when I start using it more and more on my programs, it'll become very very easier in the future programs which you write. So you have to say you're going to append this author names, which is a variable which is in the slice we created, and the value is going to be author dot name. Okay, so this is going to have this. So this is going to loop through, and then it's going to get the values of the authors. And then when you come outside of this initial thing, once you're done looping through all the authors, you're going to come outside, and then you're going to print the the book title, the publication time, and then all the authors that's for this book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a format printf. So the first one is a string. So I'm going to do a format like title, and then I'm going to say it's a percent. It's a string, so I can do percent %s, and then space publication. It's going to be a percent %d, and then space. The next one is authors, and then that's going to be a string. And then what else do we want to print? Let's print the publisher. Let's print the publisher name, which is a percent string again. And then we're also going to print the publisher. Let's do the country. And that's going to be a string as well. And then we can close this one. So this is just a format. We're going to tell how we want to format this. And now we have to tell all the values that go in here. Okay. So the first one is book dot title, comma, book. As you see, since we represented the structure in Golang structs, you get the IntelliSense, and it's easy for us to work inside a program. The second one is going to be the publication. So that's going to be this one. And the third one is authors. Remember, we created this variable which has the all the author names for this book. So we're going to just use that. And then we are going to use book dot publication dot name. And then the last one is book dot publication dot country. So I think we got everything. And then I think that's pretty much it. So let's see. Did we close everything? So this one is closed here. So we're missing one more braces. So let's do that. Okay, I think this is closing here. As you see, it's highlighted. So now let's try to run the program and see what kind of errors we get. Okay, I'm going to get out of this here. We missed one thing, so let's go there. So we need to, as you see, I'm using Vim's code completion. So I think it automatically included all the inputs for us, which is very nice. So I don't think we need to include anything. So as you see, JSON is used for, this package is used for manipulating all the JSON like marshalling and unmarshalling. And then format is because we used it here. And then there is also log, and then OS is for reading the file here. Okay, let's try to run it and see. So now we need to get the libraries so we can do, I think it's all, I don't think we need to go get the libraries because it's all part of standard libraries. So let's go try to build it. Awesome. So I don't like this. I want a new line. So let me go back so that it's clean. So let me go here. And then I'm going to copy this line. And then I'm going to come here and then paste it here. Okay. So let's go back and then rerun the program. Awesome. So you see the title, Great Gatsby, and then author, 1925 is the publication, and the authors is just one author here, and then you get the publisher name and the publisher country. But in this case, the second title has two authors, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and you can see it here. So this is how you can use a complex structure, and then you can use easily to convert and use within your Golang program. So we did this the hard way, and in the next video, which is going to be a short one, and I don't want to make this video too long, and I'll show you how to make this easy so that you can easily convert JSON structures like this into Golang structures, which you see here, right? So I'll show you an easy way to do that so that once you know that, I don't think you'll have to worry about doing this manually. But it is a good practice to get your feet wet by doing it manually so that you'll know actually what's going on. So until then, next time, and hope you are learning a little bit about Go.